Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this annual report, the 2023-2024 one, for Siyaram Silk Mills Limited.
Quite a hefty document.
It is a pretty big one, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be, going through it and trying to pull out some interesting insights for you.
Yeah, and what I think is fascinating is that they started with silk back in 1978,
Okay.
but they've really branched out.
Oh,
They're manufacturing everything from ready-made garments
Yeah.
to the yarn itself.
Huh.
They even specialize in indigo dye.
So not your grandmother's silk shop anymore.
No, not at all.
They've been around for over 4 decades and are considered a leader in India's textile industry.
Mhm.
But I was curious, I was looking through this report, and they use phrases like, crafted in excellence, driven by innovation, but they're also reporting a dip in both revenue and profits.
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem a little contradictory?
Yeah, it's, it seems counterintuitive at first. But I think if we dig a bit deeper, we see that, their revenue decrease isn't necessarily due to, poor performance on their part.
Okay.
It appears they're actually strategically transitioning from consignment sales to net sales.
Okay, so what does that mean in plain English? Why would they do that?
So essentially, this transition allows them to have a much clearer picture of actual demand for their products.
Gotcha.
So instead of relying on, potentially unreliable projections from consignment partners, they're getting direct feedback from the market.
Mm.
It also helps their cash flow and working capital,
Oh, okay.
which is especially important considering the wider economic climate.
Right. Which brings us to the bigger picture, the Indian economy and textile industry in general.
Yeah.
From the report, it's clear that this is a company operating in a dynamic and challenging space.
Absolutely. And the report highlights that while India's economy is showing positive growth overall, the textile industry is facing headwinds.
Hmm.
Everything from fluctuating raw material costs like cotton to increased competition from global players like Bangladesh and China.
And this is where understanding something like the debt-to-equity ratio becomes crucial, right?
Yes,
The
definitely.
report mentions Siyaram has been able to reduce theirs.
Exactly. So, the debt to equity ratio essentially tells you how much a company relies on borrowed money
Mm.
versus its own funds.
Right.
A lower ratio, which is what CRM has achieved, generally indicates they're managing their finances prudently.
Okay.
Especially in a tough economic climate, it means they're not over-leveraged and are less vulnerable to interest rate fluctuations.
So even though profits are down, they're making moves to strengthen their financial foundation.
Yeah,
Smart move.
smart move.
Now, what about the people steering this ship?
Well, Ramesh Padar, the chairman and managing director, definitely stands out.
Okay.
The report highlights his dedication to quality and sustainability.
Yeah.
It seems that his vision is really shaping CRM's direction.
And it's not just him. The report dives into other key players like Pawandi Padar and Ashok Jalan.
Mhm.
Their roles and stock holdings paint a picture of the company's leadership structure.
Yes, and one particular detail caught my eye.
What's that?
Sakindra N. Chaturvedi, an independent director, requires special approval for reappointment because he's over 75 years old.
Wait, really? Why is that?
It's due to a regulation in India, demonstrating their corporate governance guidelines and highlighting the emphasis they place on board composition and age limits.
Interesting.
It's something to consider as you evaluate the company's overall approach.
Oh, definitely. Speaking of meticulously following regulations, let's talk about Siyaram's manufacturing capabilities.
Sure.
They seem quite proud of their facilities and quality control measures.
Absolutely. They boast 11 state-of-the-art manufacturing plants across India.
Wow.
But what's fascinating is their commitment to eco-friendly practices.
Oh,
They've earned ISO 14001.2008 and 4501 certifications, demonstrating their commitment to environmental management and occupational health and safety.
It sounds like they're trying to balance, their large-scale production with sustainability.
Yeah.
But they also mentioned utilizing outsourcing.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a bit of a contradiction?
Not necessarily. Outsourcing allows them to be more flexible and efficient.
Okay.
Think of it like this. They can scale production up or down quickly, depending on market demand, without the constraints of fixed infrastructure.
Oh, that's a clever strategy, especially in a volatile market.
Right.
So we have a company committed to quality and sustainability, operating in a challenging industry.
Yeah.
What are some of their key advantages in this environment?
Well, the report really emphasizes their diverse product portfolio
Okay.
and strong brand recognition.
Hmm.
They also highlight their strategic embrace of digitalization
Okay.
to streamline operations and boost efficiency.
But embracing technology doesn't automatically guarantee success.
Right.
The textile industry is notoriously vulnerable to global shifts. How is CRM handling these external pressures?
Well, that's where their proactive risk management strategy comes in.
Okay.
The report mentions macroeconomic and geopolitical risks, which are certainly valid concerns,
Yeah.
especially with events like the ongoing Red Sea crisis impacting shipping routes and therefore increasing logistics expenses.
Yeah.
They also acknowledge the competitive pressure from other textile hubs.
So that's a lot to juggle.
It is.
How are they planning to tackle all this?
Well, they're focusing on product differentiation and branding to stand out in a crowded marketplace. They're also investing in research and development, constantly innovating and creating unique fabrics to cater to evolving consumer preferences.
Okay.
And importantly, they are looking to expand geographically
Gotcha.
to tap into new markets.
So a multi-pronged approach.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear more about how they're utilizing digitalization to their advantage.
Yeah,
And what about their employees? It sounds like CRM is invested in their workforce.
definitely.
We'll dive into all that and more in part 2 of our deep dive into Siyaram Silk Mills Ltd.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Siyaram Silk Mills Ltd. In part 1, we got a good overview of the company, their financials, and some of the challenges they're facing. Now, you mentioned Siyaram is using digitalization to their advantage. Can you elaborate on that a bit more? What exactly are they doing and how is it helping them?
Yeah, so they're really taking a multifaceted approach to digitalization.
Okay.
First, they're optimizing their supply chain. Think about it. They have 11 manufacturing plants across India.
Right.
Plus, they're working with external partners.
Yeah.
That's a lot to coordinate.
Yeah, for sure.
So by using digital tools, they can track inventory, manage orders, and improve communication with suppliers in real time. This leads to greater efficiency and reduces waste.
So digitalization is helping them streamline their operations, even with such a complex network. What about on the production side of things? Are they using technology to actually manufacture their fabrics and garments more efficiently?
Yes, they're investing in advanced manufacturing technologies to increase productivity and reduce lead times. This could involve anything from automated cutting and sewing machines to using data analytics to predict and prevent potential production bottlenecks.
It sounds like they're really embracing technology to
Yeah.
stay competitive in a rapidly evolving market.
Well, absolutely.
But all this technology is only as good as the people using it, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that CRM seems to be investing in their workforce. Can you tell me more about that?
Absolutely. They highlight their commitment to employee training and development,
Okay.
equipping their workforce with the skills needed to thrive in a digital environment.
Yeah.
They're also fostering a culture of inclusion and diversity,
Okay.
recognizing the value of different perspectives and experiences.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
But how are they ensuring that focus on diversity translates into real action? Are they simply saying the right things, or are they taking concrete steps?
Well, they specifically mention offering paternity leave,
Oh, okay.
which is a positive sign. It shows they're thinking about work-life balance and supporting families. They also highlight their grievance redressal mechanism and whistleblower policy,
Wow.
creating a safe space for employees to raise concerns without fear of retaliation.
So it sounds like they're putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about their sustainability efforts. We touched on their ISO certifications,
Yeah.
but I'm curious about the specific initiatives they're undertaking. What stood out to you in the report?
So they're focusing on several key areas.
Okay.
First, they're working to reduce their carbon footprint. They've installed a rooftop solar system at one of their plants
That's great.
and are exploring other renewable energy sources.
Yeah.
They're also optimizing energy consumption throughout their operations.
That's fantastic. It's great to see them embracing solar energy. What about waste management? The textile industry generates a significant amount of waste. How are they addressing that?
Yeah, so they've implemented a comprehensive waste management system
Okay.
that emphasizes segregation, responsible disposal, and recycling. They're working with authorized vendors to recycle as much waste as possible
Okay.
and are also using recycled materials in their packaging.
It sounds like they're taking a holistic approach to sustainability, tackling it from multiple angles.
Definitely.
But they did mention falling short of their CSR spending target. Do they explain why that happened?
Yeah, they attribute it to delays in some of their community development and education projects.
Okay.
They cite unforeseen circumstances and logistical challenges as the main reasons.
Mm.
However, they've committed to addressing these shortfalls and fulfilling their CSR obligations in the coming year.
Hopefully those projects will get back on track soon.
Hmm.
It's encouraging to see a company so invested in social causes. Now, we talked about competition from other textile hubs, like Bangladesh and Vietnam. How is Siyaram planning to stay ahead of the curve in such a competitive global market?
They're really leaning into product differentiation and branding.
Okay.
So instead of trying to compete solely on price,
All right.
they're focusing on creating unique, high-quality fabrics
Mm.
that appeal to specific consumer preferences. They're also investing in research and development to constantly innovate and stay ahead of trends.
So they're not just following trends, they're trying to set them. That's a bold strategy.
Yeah.
But the report also mentions the Red Sea crisis as a factor impacting their operations. Can you explain what that is and how it's affecting Siyaram?
Yeah, so the Red Sea crisis is a complex geopolitical situation
Okay.
involving multiple countries and various factors,
Yeah.
including political instability, conflict, and maritime security concerns.
Mhm.
This instability has led to increased shipping costs and delays,
Right.
making it more expensive and challenging for companies like Siyaram to import raw materials and export finished goods.
So it's adding yet another layer of complexity to their already challenging operating environment.
Definitely.
But despite all these obstacles, they seem determined to succeed. What do you think are some of Siyaram's biggest strengths in this environment?
I think their adaptability definitely stands out.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to embrace change, whether it's transitioning to net sales, investing in digitalization, or expanding geographically.
Yeah.
They're also demonstrating a commitment to sustainability and ethical practices, which is increasingly important to consumers and investors alike.
I see how those qualities could be major assets in navigating the uncertainties of the global textile industry.
Yeah.
However, one thing that I keep coming back to is their reliance on polyester.
Mm-hmm.
It's a durable and cost-effective material, but it's not exactly eco-friendly.
That's a valid point, and it's a tension many textile companies are grappling with.
Yeah.
How do you balance the need for affordable, durable materials with the
Wow.
growing demand for sustainable practices? That's a tough question.
It is. I'd be interested to hear more about how CRM plans to address this dilemma, and what about their corporate governance structure? What insights can we glean from that? We'll explore these questions and more in the final part of our deep dive into Siyaram Silk Mills Ltd. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground with Siyaram Silk Mills Ltd, their financials, their operations, their challenges, and even their approach to sustainability.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It has. But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't explored yet.
Yeah.
Corporate governance. What can you tell me about that?
Well, their annual report actually goes into quite a bit of detail
Okay.
about their corporate governance structure. They
Yeah.
clearly outline the roles and responsibilities of
Mhm.
their board of directors, their various committees,
Right.
and key executives. And there's a strong emphasis on transparency and accountability.
That's essential for building trust with investors and stakeholders. What specifics stood out to you in terms of ensuring ethical conduct?
Well, they have a very detailed code of conduct,
Okay.
which lays out the ethical principles that guide their operations. It covers everything from conflicts of interest to fair competition.
Mhm.
They also have a whistleblower policy in place
Okay.
to encourage employees to report any unethical or illegal activities without fear of reprisal.
That's good to hear.
Mm.
But policies are only effective if they're actually enforced. How does CRM ensure that their code of conduct isn't just empty words?
They have a dedicated ethics committee
Okay.
that oversees the implementation and enforcement of the code of conduct.
Gotcha.
They also provide regular training to employees on ethical decision-making.
So they're taking concrete steps to create a culture of ethics and compliance.
Yes.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Now, we talked earlier about how Siyaram is facing numerous challenges, both internal and external.
Mm-hmm.
How does their approach to risk management reflect this?
They have a formal risk management framework in place,
Okay.
overseen by a dedicated risk management committee.
Hmm.
This committee regularly assesses and monitors potential risks across all areas of the business, from financial and operational risks to compliance and reputational risks.
So they're not just reacting to crises as they arise.
No.
They're proactively trying to identify and mitigate potential risks before they become major problems.
Exactly. And that proactive approach is crucial in today's volatile business environment.
Yeah.
They also have a strong internal audit function,
Okay.
which provides independent assurance that their risk management and control systems are effective.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You need that independent oversight to ensure that everything is running smoothly.
Yeah.
Now, we touched briefly on their clean audit report.
Yeah.
Did they provide any details about how they ensure the accuracy and reliability of their financial statements?
Yeah, they discuss their internal control over financial reporting in detail,
Okay.
outlining the processes and procedures they have in place to safeguard assets, prevent fraud, and ensure the integrity of their financial data.
Yeah.
They also mention their adherence to all applicable accounting standards, which is crucial for providing a true and fair view of their financial position.
That level of detail and transparency is definitely a positive sign.
Yeah.
It shows they're taking financial reporting seriously. So taking all of this into account, what's your overall assessment of Siyaram's corporate governance practices?
Well, based on the information provided in their annual report, they
Mhm.
seem to have a robust and comprehensive framework in place.
Okay.
They're clearly committed to ethical conduct, risk management, and financial transparency. Of course, it's always possible there are things they haven't disclosed,
Right.
but from what we can see, their commitment to good corporate governance seems genuine.
I agree. They seem to be ticking all the right boxes.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to something we discussed earlier. Their reliance on polyester.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still wrestling with this.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it's a practical and cost-effective material,
Right.
but on the other hand, it's not the most sustainable option.
You've hit on a key challenge for the textile industry as a whole.
Yeah.
How to balance the demands for affordability and durability with the growing need for environmental responsibility. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see how Siyaram navigates this in the years to come.
Definitely.
Do they stick with what's tried and true, even if it's not the most sustainable option?
Mm.
Or do they invest in developing and adopting more eco-friendly materials, even if it means higher costs?
That's a question they'll have to answer. And it'll be fascinating to see how their commitment to sustainability plays out in their product development and material choices going forward.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Siyaram Silk Mills Ltd,
Yeah.
what key takeaway would you leave our listener with? What should they be thinking about as they consider this company and its future prospects?
I think Siyaram is clearly operating in a complex and challenging environment, facing pressure from global competitors, economic uncertainty,
Yeah.
and the increasing demand for sustainable practices.
Yeah.
But they're also demonstrating a commitment to innovation, quality, and good corporate governance.
Right.
Ultimately, their long-term success will depend on their ability to adapt, evolve, and make strategic decisions that balance their economic objectives with their social and environmental responsibilities. The annual report gives a good snapshot, but this is a company worth watching.
Well said. We have explored their history, financials, leadership, challenges, strategies, commitment to sustainability, and their corporate governance practices. We've even touched upon the wider economic context and the complexities of the global textile industry.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey. Hopefully you, our listener, are walking away with a much deeper understanding of Siyaram Silk Mills Ltd. But this is just the beginning. Now that you have this foundation, what other questions come to mind? What further research would you do to evaluate this company and its place in the world? Keep digging, keep asking those questions, and remember, there's always more to discover beneath the surface.